I say she's Zoftig. She's got these thighs on her.
Thunder
They're
thighs.
thunder thighs, but they're I call them the little polkies you want to eat.
It's kind of
Just
hard to
those little
imagine thunder
polkies.
thighs and a 4 pound. What is she?
She's about 5 pounds. She's
Well,
a Yorkie.
Yorkie, 5 pound. Okay,
Yeah,
so she's smaller than the Yorkies that I have next door. I thought they were like 5 pounds. Maybe they're more like 10 pounds.
yeah.
We have
She's
Yorkies
smaller
next
than a
door.
cat. That's
Hmm.
right. I remember. Yeah, she's about 5 to maybe 6 pounds because she's gained a little weight. She's a nice healthy girl. Swings her tush when she walks, which is why she's
She's
called
gained
Wiggle
some COVID
Bottoms.
weight, as we all have.
She did. She did gain
I'm
some
not going to
COVID
fat
weight.
shame her.
No, no. She's
No,
body positive.
she is. She is
She's very
pleased
body
with her
positive.
body. She is happy the way she is.
She is.
She loves having some junk in her trunk,
She
making her
feels
cake
good.
pop.
She feels good about it. She
Hmm.
shows the boys her milkshake all the time. It's
Hmm.
crazy. It's really wild. But she's a good looking dog
She brings
too,
them to the yard.
which she does. She's a good looking
Hmm.
dog, and her
Yep.
brother gets really annoyed because the dog next door keeps wanting to check her out, and it's his sister slash wife, and in the dog
Hmm.
world that's okay. They're not litter mates, so it's all right.
Yeah, but like
Nah,
that's still
they're
very Kentucky.
there. It is, but they're or
Actually, not even
slightly West
Kentucky. That's very
Virginia.
West Virginia.
That's very West Virginia, but
That's worse.
um, they're both playing with empties, so it's all right. We'll let it slide. Welcome to the Happily Ever After Cold Case Podcast. We're your hosts, Alyssa and Marissa, distant cousins who take on distant cases. Come with us as we explore the crimes of legendary tales of the past. We are fourth cousins, but in the world of Jews, that could mean double second cousins too. Anyway, we take all cold cases, even the really old ones, seriously. No stone unturned. That being said, we're not comedians, just naturally funny Jews. It's literally in the DNA. What you got for me, cuz?
Well, I have something a bit interesting, a little weird, and I'm not quite
Okay.
sure where it came from, but I do think it's pretty old because some of the I don't know, some of the things in here I just don't think they're possible in today's day and age.
So how old is this one, would you say?
Ah, that's a I'm not quite sure. That is a tough question. I would put it just based on the records, the the way the records were preserved, the type of information in these records, and some of the claims in these records. I would say anywhere from, oh gosh, 800 to 1,000 years old.
Oh, wow. So you really went digging this time.
I did. I decided I was feeling pretty hungry. I was getting the munchies. Just, had a really, really good workout and just feeling really hungry. And then I just deep spiraled and a couple days went by and I realized I had been stuck on my computer looking through the library.
Wow, that is one hell
And
of a
there we
rabbit
go.
hole.
Hmm.
Wow, wow. So even further back than last week's tale
Hmm.
of the grandmother Yaga,
Yeah.
Baba Yaga.
Wait, I think
So
two
wow.
weeks ago for
Oh,
Mother's
2 weeks
Day.
ago. That was two
2 weeks
weeks
ago
ago.
for
Yeah,
Mother's
for
Day.
Mother's Day. So
Yeah.
so further back than that one. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And this
Okay.
one I think is the oldest one I have ever seen. I say
Crazy.
that though only because some of the stuff in the records just make me think that it's that old and it dates it. However, this is
Oh wait,
another case.
a lawyer losing their voice? I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, I did have to argue today in court. Although granted it was over a chat room and I did show up as a cat, so I had to make sure everyone knew that I was not a cat.
You showed up as a cat in court? That's
Well,
okay, that's a tongue twister.
it was on screen, and I just had to make sure that everyone knew that I was not a cat.
Did you I'm confused. Okay. So things are really pretty easygoing in Washington courtrooms, I'm guessing.
Uh-huh.
Apparently. Hmm.
We're very chill. Go with the flow.
Cat attorneys. I apparently I thought Oregon was weird. I think Washington is bringing a new weirdness to the world. Strange. Okay, so you dug in there,
Mhm. I
um,
dug in.
and
Now
what'd you get?
this is one that the Grimm's Brothers Investigation Services was able to review and record. They did
Ooh,
not provide any resolution to this case because it's so old.
okay.
I don't think they could at this point. So that is one thing that did give me some pause when I was trying to date it. But I think the circumstantial evidence in the records do indicate that it is well over 500 years old. And I do put it more at the 800 to 1,000 simply because of some information in them.
Wow. Alright. It gave you pause, which is fun because you were a cat today, and
Mhm.
cats have
I was a
paws.
cat.
I'm sorry, that was bad. That was really bad. I
Well, it
apologize.
gave me pause because I was a cat today, and there is a wolf in this story.
Ooh,
Mhm. Just pause
tell me
everywhere. It's
more.
giving everybody pause.
Everybody's got paws.
Yeah.
I've got paws sometimes.
And sometimes I need to pause.
Sometimes.
Mhm.
I pause with my paws. That's terrible. I really apologize for that.
You should apologize for that.
I
Even as
should.
a dad
Yeah.
joke, that's pretty bad.
That's bad. That doesn't even qualify as a dad joke. It's just bad.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah. Alright. So what happened?
Well, this one was pretty dark. It, uh, there is a bit of murder.
Ooh.
There is a bit of maiming,
Oh.
and this is probably not good for people with kids who. What's a nice
Impressionable
way?
kids.
What's nice? A nice way to say who generally disobey their parents.
Oh, brats?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
not so nice.
Well,
Okay, but we'll go with that.
we'll go with that. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I do think that the the young woman in the story. Actually, no, she's not even a woman. She's a girl. I will say she's a girl. She's young enough to be a girl. Woman. I think we've dealt with women in the past few cases old enough to make some independent decisions. This young girl is younger, and I think she's young enough to still qualify as a girl.
Wow,
She's
okay.
Yeah, she's definitely young. Should probably not have been left on her own, especially left on her own to travel as far as she did. But as we are aware, people from different time periods gave children
Well,
a lot
yeah,
more responsibility than we have today.
well, yeah, because I mean, if you could marry it like between 12 and 14, you're basically and you die in your 20s, you're middle-aged.
Yeah,
So, which is weird, but do we know how old this young lady was?
we don't. I do know that she's old enough to travel a good, I'd say, quarter mile from her home to her grandmother's home, in which she had to go through a wooded area, so a forest,
Mhm.
and was responsible for doing chores and taking her grandmother goods and other items, especially when her grandmother was sick. She was responsible for caring for her elderly and sick grandmother. So I know that she's old enough to do that. But again, with the idea that children were given so many more responsibilities so long ago, it's very difficult to
It's
really
murky.
gauge her age. Yeah.
Yeah, it's murky. It sounds like a very responsible young lady, but by today's standards, we would think of her as a child.
Yes. Yes. Although
Okay.
I don't know if I'd put her quite as a I don't know if I describe her as responsible, but
Not so
maybe someone
much?
who was given responsibility.
Okay. There's a big difference.
Mhm.
There's a big difference.
Very big.
I've been given a lot of responsibility, and I'm probably irresponsible. So there we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, you
Yeah,
probably should
yeah,
not have been given that
yeah.
responsibility.
No, no, even
Yeah,
at my advanced age. Yeah,
yeah. But at least you're aware of it and you're cognizant of
I
that, so that's
am.
good.
I am.
That's
I
wonderful. That's
am.
very deep of
Uh,
you.
well, I suffer from Peter Pan syndrome, so it's,
Oh, okay. Okay. Actually,
yeah.
I have heard of someone named Peter Pan. I think that's a historical reference. I'm gonna have to look that up and find some more information on that.
Well, I think it is because I mean, in therapy, I was told that I suffer from Peter Pan syndrome. So
I
I'm
believe that. Mhm.
assuming that it is some sort of a case out there. I'll have to ask. I think it
Right.
is a psychological case from I don't know when, but yes, yeah.
Oh, and okay. I wonder if it was big enough and it made the news and it created, or not created, but was so big that a psychological disorder was named after it.
I'm assuming
Kind
so.
of like
Yep,
Stockholm syndrome. It was such
exactly.
a major event and it was so newsworthy and it created so much
It created
talk
a
that it
psychological syndrome.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Well, yeah,
Sounds
you
like
know what?
about right.
I'm gonna look that up for you. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try to
thank you.
find Peter Pan and see what type of person or persons
Well, and
he or they were.
what was his, hers, their
Hmm.
mental, condition that
Yeah,
had a disorder named after it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And what happened?
yeah. I would love to
Mhm.
know.
Okay.
So this little girl,
Hmm.
or young lady, we should say, because she's, in that time, she's a bit older. She's got some responsibilities. I'm guessing, fulfills those responsibilities.
She does fulfill them, yes.
Okay.
I don't know how well she fulfills them, and that's sort of where some of these issues start coming in, is her inability to fulfill her responsibilities as efficiently and and s uh, cleanly as possible.
Okay.
So I did mention that she was responsible for caring for her grandmother, who lived a short distance away, a walkable distance away, although she did
Okay.
live in a different part of town on the other side of this wooded area or forest. And in order to get there, this young girl would have to travel through these woods to get to grandmother's house. Now, we the weather's getting warm, global warming is a really big issue, and our temperatures are rising. But back then, things were a lot colder. This was, if
Yeah.
it was around 1,000 years ago, it was right after another mini ice age. So it was very very cold outside, and thankfully, her grandmother, probably through familial love and appreciation for this young girl caring for her, made her a a cloak with a hood.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very nice. Helped keep her
So grandma's
warm.
crafty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And helped keep her warm, helped keep the chill out, especially when you're traveling, especially when it's cold, when it's winter. It's really important to stay warm, as warm as possible, and prevent any
Probably
type
made
of
out of
medical issue.
wool.
Yeah, wool, maybe some fur or skins. But the
Oh, yeah, that would
interesting
keep you warm.
thing about this cloak, or this hooded cape, was that it was red, which is a very,
Oh,
very
interesting.
uncommon color for that time period. Yeah.
Yeah, why would why well, yeah, why would the grandmother make it red? I mean, she must have had access to some sort of, pigment, some sort of dye, maybe a red clay or something?
Or, well, I do know that carmine and other types of beetles were used to make a
Yes,
red dye.
beetles.
Mhm.
Yes,
And the
and in fact, in
reason
South America, they do that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Well,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
wonderful.
Till
I bet
they
that's a
still do it
very
to this day.
sustainable red dye.
It is, they do it to this day. They use a beetle, and they crush the beetle, and they've got red dye.
There you go. Blood red?
Blood red.
Hmm. Although beetles don't really
In
have
fact,
blood, do they? No.
oh, well, they must. I don't know. It just I know she squished it and it was red, and because I assumed it was blood red, I had to buy something in blood red because, I like I like the whole blood thing idea. Okay. I'm weird.
That explains a lot about you.
It does. It
Mm.
does. It does.
Maybe that's why we get along so well.
Probably. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm assuming so. So grandma seems like she's really got it together with crafts,
Mhm.
and she's really put a lot of effort into this garment for her granddaughter to wear.
She has,
She
and
must
the
care for her
fact
a great deal.
yes. Oh, yes. Well, the fact that it was red says a lot, and there was quite a bit of discourse on the fact that this hooded cloak was red. And that's what part of what made me think that it was as old as it is because of the amount of discourse and the detail on the red hood.
So it was unusual.
Very, very unusual. Yes,
Yeah.
extremely unusual.
Well, and I don't I mean, if the Grimm's investigators, if they looked into this, I'm going to safely assume this was, somewhere in Europe, which means that it's even rarer that there would be a bright color because, colors were mostly very and still today are much more drab, darker colors, plain colors, the grays, your blues, very neutral colors. They don't go in for very bright colors. So this would definitely lend itself to being, somewhere in Northern Europe and, a very long time ago.
Mhm. Definitely. Yes. Yeah.
Crazy. So
Crazy.
she makes this I mean, I would love to have seen this garment. It sounds incredible. But she gives the granddaughter
It
this
must
to
have
keep
been.
her
There's
warm.
there's
It must
just
have
so
been
much
incredible.
detail on this garment.
Yeah. And does does it keep her warm, or does she have trouble in the forest? Is that where this unfortunate situation heads?
It is not actually because of the garment. The garment, I
Okay.
believe, because it is red, because that's such an unusual color for that time period, is what made this newsworthy. But the garment
Mm.
itself is not what caused the problem. Now, I want to talk
Okay.
about earlier when I said she was someone who was given responsibility, but was maybe not responsible.
Okay.
But she was wearing her red cloak and she had gathered some food and some items for her grandmother who was sick. And so she was traveling to grandmother's house through the woods. Now her mother knew that the woods could be dangerous. There are animals in there. It is a bit of a distance. It's walking distance, but it's still a bit of a distance. So it's best to stay on the path and avoid any distractions to get to grandmother's house quickly and make sure that you don't get hurt, that you get there in as short of amount of a time as possible and bring her the goods that she needs.
And
Well,
avoid any wildlife, harmful
yes, and avoid
wildlife
any
as well.
wildlife, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is where she deviated. And
Uh-oh.
this is why the case became newsworthy. She
I smell
deviated.
trouble.
Well, among other things, there was
Yeah, I do.
probably
Yeah, I smell other things
quite a
too.
few smells.
Yeah.
Yeah,
1,000
yes,
years
quite
ago,
a few.
they didn't
So
take
she
baths.
deviates, right? Well, maybe once a quarter or so, but there were quite a few
Yeah,
smells.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Bathing, not a whole lot of personal hygiene or
No.
dental care. No.
No, no, still no dental care really in Northern Europe. But anyway, I digress. So, what did she do?
Well, she deviated from the path. Now, she did have good intentions. She was going to get flowers for her sick grandmother. She was bringing some
Okay.
food, something to drink, and she thought it would be nice to bring flowers. But she met
Good
some
intention.
wildlife after. Yes, very
Ugh.
good intentions. Still deviating from the path, still disobeying her mother, who gave her very clear instructions and with good reason why those
Yeah.
instructions were given.
Yeah.
As I said, given responsibility, not responsible.
So a
So
little
while she's
flighty.
deviated, yes. So while she's deviated, she did meet up with some wildlife, specifically a
Ugh.
wolf. Yeah.
Uh-oh. They're dangerous.
Yep. Very dangerous. Very, very dangerous, very cunning. At this point, this wolf was very smart, saw this young girl. Now, the bad thing about the hood is that because it was red, it was very, very visible. Sometimes visibility
Yes.
is great. You need that visibility, especially in our time when you're outside and you're maybe on the road and you don't want to get hit by a car. Visibility is key.
Very true.
Here, maybe visibility wasn't the best option.
Yeah. Wow. So, visibility is, a an issue, not in a good way here.
Yeah. This wolf comes to her and starts talking to her and wants to know why this young girl is in the woods, why she's picking flowers, and why she has this basket of food. And this young
Whoa,
girl,
whoa,
maybe
whoa, hang
because
on.
Mhm.
You said he talked to her?
Well, yes, wolves at that point were still vocal. We've lost that. This
Well,
is
I'm
another
I'm
reason
guessing
why
okay,
I'm dating this so far back.
okay, I think you're smoking something. I'm guessing he communicated with her with his eyes and maybe some grunts, and that's the she interpreted it, or was she on something?
Maybe, or maybe the records that indicate he spoke to her didn't really discuss or define speech.
What that meant.
It could have just
Yeah.
been communication. Yeah. Definitely could have
That's
just
what
been
I'm
a
thinking.
just could
Yeah.
have been the wolf communicated with her and then she communicated back and they each communicated in their own way to have a conversation.
Well, because dogs communicate to us now, so
Mhm.
and they come from wolves. I'm sure there was a communication going on,
Right.
that was called talking.
Yes. And you have dogs, I have dogs, and they communicate with us and we communicate back and we have
Absolutely.
very, very robust conversations.
With Honey, I have these full-on conversations where she'll speak to me, she'll bark at me, and I will speak back to her. We understand each other. I'll tell her, "Go get your toy." She goes and gets it and brings it back. If I
She's
don't
so
play,
smart.
she throws it at me. Yeah, so this is where I'm thinking
Mhm.
this conversation, probably happened. That's just a
Right.
guess.
Now, the word speak and speech could have just been translated as that way. This has been translated several times,
Right, okay.
both from its original to a new document to sort of save or preserve the
Sure.
story, and then by the Grimm's investigators because they also translated it. So it's been through several translations at this point.
Fair enough.
So this
So
wolf communicated with her, and she communicated back, or we'll just use the word speak for
okay, fair
ease.
yeah, for
They
ease.
spoke, and she indicated that she was going to her grandmother's house who was ill, and that's why she was picking flowers, and that's why she had all of these goods in her basket. And the wolf said that's wonderful and let her go on her way.
Oh,
Yeah,
didn't
it
try to
sounds
attack
really
her or anything. That's
no,
really cool,
no, it
that's
sounds
awesome.
really nice. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, it wasn't. I mean,
Mm,
if it was all nice, then this story never would have made the papers, and we wouldn't have heard about it,
that's true, we wouldn't be here.
right? It wouldn't be a true crime.
Yeah. What
So this
happened?
wolf, after having gained that information, went to grandmother's house himself.
Oh, that does not sound
Hmm.
good.
Yeah, I think you can figure out what's going to happen next, as what happens so often in so many of these crimes.
Did
Well,
did did he did he attack the grandmother?
he did. He attacked her.
Oh,
Maybe he was
no.
hungry. Maybe
Oh,
he
that's
hadn't eaten in a while.
awful.
Yeah, he did. He attacked her and he ate her.
Oh,
I truly I
no!
truly think he was probably very hungry. Wolves were responsible for themselves. There wasn't a lot of food to go around. The
Oh,
winters could be very, very harsh, and humans died of starvation, wolves died of starvation. So
Wow.
he could have been very, very hungry. He could have been starving.
I mean, yeah, we can't really blame the wildlife. Especially I'm assuming she probably opened the door thinking it was her granddaughter, and then there's this
She
wolf.
did. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
poor woman. That's horrible.
It's so awful. You open your
Oh,
door and instead of your granddaughter, there's a wolf who eats you.
family
It's so
family
terrifying.
tragedies are awful.
It's
Yeah,
so
this is
awful. It's such a cautionary
oh,
tale. It's so scary.
yeah. Don't open the door if you don't know who's there.
Right.
It's a
Or at
moral
least
there.
check a peephole or a window to
Yeah,
make sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
to make just verify,
Mhm.
be
Yeah.
safe. Be safe out there.
Trust,
Yeah,
but verify.
exactly.
Mhm. Unfortunately, grandmother did not verify. So
Ugh.
she was eaten.
Mm,
And after that, the young girl finally made it to grandmother's house after the wolf had made it first.
mm,
Mhm. And the
mm.
wolf was still hungry. I have to
Oh,
assume it was
no, and the wolf
winter
is
or
I'm
maybe
assuming
it
the
was
wolf
early
stayed in the
spring after
house.
a long winter.
Wow, and the wolf doesn't leave, he's probably foraging around even some more.
No, I would think he'd be
It's
sleeping.
possible.
I mean, you've just had a big meal, you get
Well,
the
it's
itis, you get
possible.
tired.
True, but, it's possible that I mean, do we know if it was a male wolf? It could have been a female wolf that had babies that she needed to feed.
That's true. The only reason I keep
Does it
saying
does it
he
say?
well, it uses the pronoun he, but I don't know if that was just an assumption or if that was something created in translation. I don't actually know if the wolf
True.
was male.
True, because, and a lot of times, especially in those years, they would assign, "he" to any
Mhm.
animal.
True.
So, just making an
Right.
assumption that it's he, but it could have been a female that had, cubs to feed or
Yes, or
pups to
maybe she
feed,
was
so yeah.
pregnant and she needed to
Yeah,
get sufficient calories to feed
exactly.
her babies, her I
Wow.
guess
Hmm,
multiple fetuses.
right. Wow. I just
Yeah,
yeah, we don't know.
we don't. Unfortunately, that type of information is just lost to the ages.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Was
we can make a
it
safe
did
assumption
not
because the
survive.
yeah, we can make some safe assumptions because the wolf is still there and foraging around for more food. So, I mean, I'm sure the grandmother was, probably small in stature as people were then, and especially being of an older age, and maybe even not a lot of, meat on her. So it is possible if this was the situation that wolf would have possibly still been hungry.
Probably. Not only were people back then much shorter than we are today due to a lack of nutrition during their growing years, but they were also just overall not as well nourished. They didn't have
Yeah,
as much food, especially during the winter. Food they could only eat whatever was preserved, and if there were an issue with crops or the harvest or insufficient hunting or the food that they had preserved ended up going bad, people
yeah,
starved and they just had
yeah,
to make whatever they had left last until the warmer months. So she could have been very, very tiny and very skinny, and she was ill. So there could have
yeah.
been additional weight loss.
That's true.
So she may
Very
not
true.
have been a very good meal for that wolf.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we don't think of those things. We think in terms of today, and I mean, not to get super dark, but your bubby, she probably wouldn't make a very satisfying meal for a wolf, even
No,
today.
she's a tiny woman. She's a
Yeah,
tiny woman, and she's not only has she shrunk in stature, she's in a wheelchair at this point, as she's 100, and she has limited mobility, and so she's just there's just
not a lot of
she's
meat.
no, she's just a very tiny woman.
Yeah, so
She's I
yeah,
mean,
I
she's
mean,
always
and
been
this,
a tiny woman, but now she's even smaller. So yeah, she
yeah, and
definitely would not have made a very robust meal for a wolf.
exactly, and if this is 1,000 years ago when people were even smaller, yeah,
Mhm.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
Well, that makes sense.
yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's a sad thing, but it does make
Yeah.
sense.
Mm.
And when the young girl came, the wolf was still present, and after having eaten grandmother, he or she or they were still hungry, and they also ate the young girl. Mhm.
No.
Yes. Yeah. Really
Oh,
tragic. 2
I
generations just
2
gone.
generations gone. You know, as an animal lover, um, I kinda get it. I also get that, you know, there are some situations where people put themselves in harm's way in an animal's, domain. Uh, this house was obviously built in an area that was fairly rural. Who do we blame? Is there a blame? Is it just nature? I don't know.
Ugh, that's a tough question, and especially back
Yeah.
then when it really, really was survival of the fittest,
Yeah,
and food really was a limited resource.
exactly.
Mhm.
Wow. So he eats both of them.
He does.
Now,
Yeah.
I can imagine this hitting the papers. Is there any recourse?
I don't think there would be any since this wolf, and again, I think we're just using he as a stopgap
Right.
since we're not really sure the gender. Just gonna use he, but, I don't think there would have been any recourse. The wolf is wildlife. The wolf is not a member of society. He's not a citizen. He's not subject to police procedure or the laws in town, any
But
type of
today
government.
they would have killed him.
Yeah, well, he we're not quite done yet. Yeah,
There's
it does
more?
there is. It's for the
Oh,
animal
no.
lovers listening right now, it's gonna get pretty dark, and I do apologize. The only comfort I can give is that this happened so long ago, you know, it's sad. If this is gonna be too much for you, I do understand, and I am giving this warning. I do understand if you wanna turn off, but this wolf, after having eaten both the grandmother and the young girl with her red hood, went to sleep. He did. He fell asleep. I think was finally feeling
Full
somewhat
tummy.
satiated,
Yep.
full, went to sleep and was snoring. So I also wonder if maybe there was some
Oh.
nasal passage issues, like maybe I mean, I know there's several dog breeds that are brachiocephalic. Wolves are
My dog
not.
snores. My dog
Yeah.
snores. So,
Yeah, so
yeah.
it could have just been that. Could have
Yeah.
just been some blocked nasal passages. Maybe, we're getting into spring I don't actually know what time of year, but possibly spring could have been some
Allergies.
allergies. The
Yeah.
wolf could have been sick himself, and maybe that's why he was so hungry because his body was trying to heal.
Yeah.
Any of those things. But the snoring was so loud that it attracted a local huntsman who was familiar with grandmother and her home and found such loud snoring to be very, very odd for this grandmother who was not known to snore that loud. So he went to investigate and found this wolf present, but no
Uh-oh.
grandmother and no granddaughter. And
Oh, no.
yeah, I think there was enough evidence within the home to figure out what had happened. And
Wow.
yeah,
He he kills it, right?
yeah, yeah, he
Ah.
killed the wolf. Yeah.
I honestly, I was this is gonna sound bad, but I was kinda rooting for the wolf only because it's his domain. I think that kid was probably a little smart aleck.
Mhm.
Um,
That's not really recourse to be eaten or reason to be eaten,
it isn't,
but
but
on the other
on the s
hand,
yeah, on the other hand, I'm pro wolf.
yes, yeah, I am
So,
also
you
pro
put
wolf,
yourself yeah.
and we don't know if the wolf was starving, what time of year this was, if the wolf was sick, if the wolf
And the
had
kid went off the
babies.
path. The
The
kid
kid
went
did
off the path.
she did go off the path. She was specifically told not to, and not only was she told not to, she was given a logical reason why.
Why? And then grandma just opens the door without verifying. Trust but verify, like you said.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm team wolf. I'm
Yeah.
I'm
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 also
eh, I'm a
team wolf. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know what
I'm a
other team you could
conservationist at
be.
heart. No, no. I mean, it's sad for the family, but totally team wolf.
Team wolf all the way. Yeah, definitely not team whatever else that is. Team wolf.
No,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
don't
he
blame this man for killing him, but,
although lucky for grandmother and granddaughter that the huntsman did kill the wolf because the wolf was so hungry that he ate both grandmother and granddaughter with her red hood whole. He didn't chew, just swallowed them whole.
wow.
Mhm.
You know what? My male
Kind
dog
of like
does
deep
that.
throating, yeah, deep throating a
Yeah,
candy bar.
deep throating his
Just
food. Yeah,
yep,
yeah. Wow. My older dog does that. He doesn't even taste his food or chew it. He just swallows it whole.
swallows
So
it whole.
yeah, they do that. They do that.
Yeah, they do, they do. There are
Wow.
other things that you can deep throat, but yeah, they do that a lot with their food.
Yeah, I've heard. I've heard. I don't know from experience, but I've heard.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm, interesting.
mhm.
Crazy.
Well, when the huntsman killed the wolf, he was able to find grandmother and her granddaughter, and they were still alive at this point. So
Whoa!
I don't think the wolf had sufficient time to digest them, and they were able to be rescued.
That is crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
How
I
did
don't
they
know how
not
that would
get
work.
digested?
I
It
don't
must have been
know.
seconds.
Second,
It
although when you eat a large meal, you do go to sleep pretty quickly, so it could have been a very short
That's true.
time.
And I'm not all that familiar with a wolf's digestive system, so fair enough. I mean, maybe they don't digest as fast.
Maybe. Or maybe this
Well,
wolf
I
was
I
coming out of hibernation. Maybe he was
well,
in some
and I
type of hibernation and was
that's
coming out. Maybe
true.
that's why he was so hungry because he's coming out of this sleeping period after winter. Digestion
Well,
is
and
still very slow.
I do know their mouths don't digest, just like, dogs, they don't start their digestive process until it reaches the stomach, so, that would have been a big meal if he
It would have
swallowed them
been.
whole,
Yeah.
so it's entirely possible that I mean, maybe there was some digestion going on, I mean, there might have been some injuries, does
Mhm.
it say if there were any injuries on them?
It doesn't, although I do wanna note that the red hood, the granddaughter's red hood, her her little red hood actually was, she didn't have it after this event. I don't know what happened to the Little Red Riding Hood, but after this, she wore different hoods.
So it okay, you know what? It caused a blockage.
Probably did.
That
Mhm,
hood saved their lives.
mhm.
It probably caused a blockage.
Go
Wow.
grandma.
Go grandma.
So much forethought.
Accident, happenstance, forethought. Who knows? So, I'm guessing the huntsman, there was probably no charges brought against him because he legitimately killed this animal,
Mhm,
and saved the grandmother and the granddaughter,
mhm.
and, of course, people just assumed that the wolf deserved to die anyway,
Yes.
probably
It was a
had
very
been attacking
anti-wolf
livestock.
society.
Yeah, attacking
Yeah.
livestock and things, so
Mhm.
wow.
Yeah. And
And did the
the
girl learn
hunts
her lesson?
she did. So after this, the girl promised to never leave the path and run off into the woods as long as her mother told her not to. So she promised to listen to her mother and do what her mother said. So she did
Wow.
learn, and I think she definitely became more responsible and really accepted and flourished under that level of responsibility.
I would hope so.
Mhm.
And
It's a very
how much
traumatic
longer did
experience for
grandma
her.
live? Do we Yeah, absolutely. How much longer did grandma live? Do we know?
I'm not really sure, although it does seem like the grandmother got better as she was able to eat the food and enjoy the wine and enjoy the flowers that Red Riding Hood brought.
So she healed pretty quickly. That's
Mhm.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
And the
Such a
huntsman,
traumatic
what happened to
experience for
him?
them. He took the wolf, the skin from the wolf, and he created a pelt, and he had a wolf pelt, which for
Wow.
that time was very, very warm and very valuable.
This must have been incredibly traumatic for the whole area, the whole, the town, the rural area wherever they were located. I just can't imagine.
Very traumatic. Two members of your society, two members of a family, two members of two generations of a family are just gone. And just for the luck of a passing huntsman, they would have died.
Yeah. Seconds away from digestion.
Mhm.
Crazy. This is wild. This has got to be one of the most wild cases you've brought. I just what did the Grimm's investigators think? Did they have
They
any ideas about what transpired?
they just recorded it. This is a case that I think was just too old for them to solve. So this wasn't really anything where they made any um they didn't really make any assumptions, or they didn't
Come to
summarize the case.
conclusions?
They didn't make any yes, they didn't make any conclusions. They just transcribed it, they wrote it down, they translated it, and they left it as it was. And I think this case for them was more one just to preserve for posterity, maybe as a learning experience, maybe as a training exercise, but was not one that they investigated themselves.
Well, I hope that they and I'm assuming that they probably did use this as a cautionary tale for, children, in the
Mhm.
area at the very least. Pay attention to your mother, don't
Mhm.
go off the path.
Right,
There
especially when you're
are
going through the
wild
woods.
animals. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, a cautionary
Trust and
tale.
verify.
Trust and verify. Crazy. This
Yeah,
is a wild one. I
so wild.
that went to a place I did not expect. I really did not expect that these 2 people could survive.
I was flabbergasted, but the only thing I can think of is just the wildlife was probably very, very different that far
And
back.
lack of digestion. Yeah.
Mhm. Lack of digestion, maybe the
Insane.
material from this red hood, it
Yeah,
really could have made the difference.
yeah, definitely. I mean, any animal swallows material like that, it's gonna cause a blockage, so
Mhm.
unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah,
Unbelievable. I
anytime my dad has a stomach issue, he calls my uncle who is a doctor, a veterinarian, but still a doctor. And my uncle just always asks him, "What did you eat? Did you have any socks? Did you have any
see,
toys? Did you
see?
eat something that wasn't food? Because that can really cause a blockage."
Yeah,
And my dad just has to think about, what he ate early in the day and make sure that all the socks are accounted for.
yeah.
Yeah, because it can
I
be
think
very
that happens with
dangerous.
missing socks. Missing
Mhm.
socks. I think that's what happens. One
And
gets
you
eaten.
wonder why sometimes it's tough to go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
Mm,
Wow. Food for thought. Ha! No pun intended there. That's really crazy. That is the craziest story. Man, you're bringing them. You are bringing them.
I'm
Your
trying.
research is really paying off. You're getting some interesting stories.
Yeah, it's all these snacks.
Snacks,
And
you gotta
and
stop
f
snacking.
well, and thankfully it's food. That's why I'm
Yeah,
regular, since I'm eating food and
food.
not non-food items, especially
Yeah,
clothing.
clothing. Yeah.
Clothing tends to really, really cause some damage, sometimes even
Well, and it's very
surgical.
dry.
It
It's dry
is. It's
too.
dry.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
a lot of liquids, and I'm already well hydrated.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oof. I can't imagine.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this with me. I may have nightmares. I'm definitely going to be not just answering the door, even though use a ring, folks. Use a ring doorbell. a Google doorbell, whatever you have, they're available. Go get one. Don't answer the door to strange wolves. It just they're wild animals. Just don't do it.
Mhm. And especially in the winter when they might be
Yeah,
starving,
yeah,
or right after, maybe in the early spring when the food that they've preserved over the winters is almost gone,
yeah.
you could
Be
be a great
careful.
meal.
Granted, and and with climate change, even though
Oh,
things
yeah,
are
food
getting
source is
warmer,
becoming
but the
even more
food so
scarce.
exactly, exactly. So we have really the same problem. It's not freezing. It's not a mini ice age. It's more warming of temperatures, but still that does reduce the food sources as well. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's
same
even
problems.
more important now to make sure that you know who's on the other side of your door.
Yeah, absolutely.
'Cause who knows
Absolutely.
if a huntsman that you are friends with will be walking by and can hear that wolf
Yeah.
snoring. And if
I
you're
mean,
a snorer yourself, no
yeah.
one would know.
No one would know. I snore sometimes, not often. We do there are a couple of my neighbors are hunters, so and they know me well, so they could hear, you know, my room from the street. If I was snoring a lot, they might get concerned, but there's no guarantee. Wow.
Mhm.
I'm I'm sleeping with the windows shut tonight. That's all I'm
You do
saying.
seem a little bit shaken.
I am. I am. And especially since I was team wolf too. I'm gonna hug my dogs too
Yeah.
tonight. I'm going to
Maybe
hug
your
them.
dogs can protect you.
I doubt it. They're only 5 pounds each.
Oh,
But they'll try, and
but
I'll
they
love them
will.
for
And
it.
and honestly,
Yeah.
they wouldn't make much of a meal either.
No, Clifford would give his life for me. Honey would
But
show
it's
them
not very
where I
much.
am.
Mm,
Yeah, no, but Honey would actually probably open the door and show them where I am.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
she's
I
wicked.
believe that
She's
about
wicked.
her.
She's a
I believe
demon.
that about her.
Yeah,
She is.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, little wolves, I tell you. Well, cuz as usual, it was a blasty blast chatting with you.
It was
And
absolutely wonderful.
yeah, wow, I'm verklempt again. I can't wait to hear what you've got for me next week because wow, this one was something.
This one was touching.
Yeah,
This one
it
got
was
me right down.
in the
If I had a
feels.
heart,
Yeah, you don't. Yeah,
I
see,
I
you
would have
don't.
been
So
affected. I really would have
yeah, but
been.
you're not. So yeah,
So,
you
yeah,
you
that's
don't
why
have
it's
no
fine.
heart.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's why it's fine.
I have a little bit of a heart. So I
I
had
think that's
more
why
of the
you're so
heart in the
shaken right
family.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I
I
think
mean, I
yeah.
can see you. You're having so much of
I'm
an
having a
issue
hard
right now.
time.
Like, you're
Yeah,
kvetching, and I can see
I
you.
am. I am. I'm and I'm schwitzing here. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. It's terrible.
it's awful.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you listen to this and take it as a tale of caution, and you don't feel as bad as I do about this poor wolf. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
We appreciate you listening. And cuz
Mhm.
um let's chat next week.
Let's
And
chat.
unless
I look forward
unless you
to
want to get
this.
together for coffee during the week, let's do a Zoom. Get
Yeah,
together with
that would be
for coffee.
wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna put some booze in mine since it'll be on the weekend, and I can
Oh,
drink
yeah, me
then. Yeah.
too. Me too. And we could talk about the people you've put in jail this week too. So that'll be
Oh,
great.
okay. Oh, wonderful. Oh, so it'll be a
It'll be
long
fun.
conversation. Okay,
It'll be long,
wonderful.
long one.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're awesome.
yeah.
All
Be
right,
great. Be
cuz
great.
take it easy and yeah, we'll chat again during the week and then next week you can bring me another story.
I sure will.
Sounds like a blast.
I sure will. I'll bring you a present.
Oh, I'm nervous. You're a
Thank
weirdo.
you and good night.
Hey, thank you and good night.